Hello everybody, my name is Liam Keks. I'm a musician and photographer, and I'm really fond of film photography. I have a bunch of film cameras, but nowadays shooting film may be a little bit tricky. You have to find the film, which is quite pricey. You have to find a lab, which is quite rare, to develop and scan your photos in high quality. So what am I supposed to do if I want to get a film-like feeling to my photography, but without spending whole lots of money? Well, there is a solution to this issue, and this is a vintage digital CCD sensor camera. CCD is the type of sensor which was widely used in cameras in the late 90s and the beginning of 2000s. And it is commonly known for having very film-like colors, and that's why we're talking about the CCD cameras today. CCD sensors were later replaced with the CMOS sensors, which are now used in the smartphones, modern camera like this Sony A7 and so on. And the most significant disadvantage of the CCD sensor was that it consumed lots of energy, and your batteries were exhausted very quickly after you started shooting. There are a whole bunch of them on the used market, but some of the most popular ones are the ones made by Canon company. And today I'm going to talk about the two models I've got in my collection, which are the Canon A590is, a small baby, and its older brother, which is Canon G5. Canon G5. Let's talk about each of them closely. We'll begin with this baby. This is an A series of Canon cameras, and it is described as easy and fun. They are very simple to use, they are quite small, and this particular camera is my number one talking about the CCD cameras I use. I often carry it on my vacations, and it is really a pocket-sized camera, so I carry it in my pocket and I don't have to take it out of a case or a bag or anything of the sort. I just take it, I just turn it on and I shoot. Nice, right? This particular model I bought for about $50 used about a year ago. I've made hundreds of pictures on this camera, and I'm really satisfied with the quality. It really gives me a stunning film-like look. It is an 8 megapixel camera with an equivalent of 35 to 140 millimeter zoom lens, which gives an opportunity of shooting portraits, architecture, cars, nature, cats, and myself. Like so. I really like this camera, and it is very simple by all means. I mean, look, it has just a pair of AA batteries, which I can replace basically anywhere I am. It has a very basic SD memory card, which is still very common and doesn't cost much. So this is the camera I truly love. It has a viewfinder, which I am used to because I shoot film cameras and they are always equipped with a viewfinder. But sometimes I use an LCD display, which is quite large and quite nice. This camera is my number one. However, I have one more camera in my collection, which is this Canon G5, first introduced in 2003. Let's take a closer look at this camera. This is a 5 megapixel camera, unlike this one, which is 8 megapixel. And it also has a viewfinder, a flash, it has a hot shoe over here, it has a bunch of controls in here, and in here it has a tiltable display which is much smaller than the other one. As you can see, it is almost twice as small as on A590. But as I said, I mostly use the viewfinder because I'm used to it, and it's not an issue at all. It just gives you a basic understanding of your composition if you are not sure. It has a lens cap. It has this third-party strap which I attached to it because this is not a pocket-sized camera, obviously. And considering the fact that this is now in 2024, this camera is 21 years old, it falls apart. I mean, it doesn't influence anything in terms of photography, but this soft touch plastic used on this camera falls apart when I'm using it. Look. So, these cameras are old, however, they still work great. There is one thing you have to know before you buy the G series camera, the old one. And first of all, and probably the most important of all, is that it utilizes this type of CF memory card. This is an original CF, but there is an option to buy an adapter from a micro SD or a regular SD and still use it. One more thing to consider is that this one has a standard Canon battery from that era. I don't have any modern Canon cameras, but it's still widely available online. However, you have to know that because probably if you buy this camera used, you will have to buy some spare batteries as well. It has... oh, it turned on, look. It has a retractable lens either, and this lens is almost the same as this one. They both have an equivalent of 35 to 140 millimeter zoom lens, but this aperture is 2.6 to 5.5, and this one is 2.0 to 3.0, so this lens is much lighter, and in low light conditions this one is going to win. Besides, this lens is just, it looks more solid, you know. Probably it gives a better picture quality, but we will find out this a bit later. It has a very comfortable grip, it feels solid, and it's mainly made of plastic, but I suppose there is some kind of metal frame underneath it, but I'm not sure actually, because this top part looks like magnesium or something like that. It looks like metal actually. And overall feeling of this camera is much more solid than the smaller A series. This particular unit was made in Japan, while this one was made in Malaysia. Does it influence the quality? I don't know, but it's just a fact. Other than that, they feel really similar in terms of picture quality. And now I want to go outside, take some pictures and give you side-by-side comparison of those to make your own opinion before you buy any of them. I should point out again that this one was bought on a second-hand market for about $50, while this one was bought for over 100. You also have to buy a Canon charger to charge these Canon batteries, so it just takes more accessories with it. Let's go outside and find out which one is better. So the first thing I'm gonna do before I start comparison the two cameras is actually to set the white balance equally. Usually white balance is set on a blank white sheet of paper, but to achieve the film look, kind of warm film look, I usually do it on a slightly bluish sky. I mean, look, there's the sun, so I point my camera somewhere here on a slightly bluish part of it, and this is how I'm achieving the kind of move into yellow orange kind of tint on my photos. So I'm gonna evaluate the two cameras equally to achieve the equal results in terms of white balance. Okay, so on A590 there's a dedicated button. It's over here. This one, you just press it and evaluate. On G9 you don't have a dedicated button, but you can press in here, white balance, and then you just press set to evaluate. So I pointed the both cameras in here, like so, and then evaluated the white balance. We're back, and we can clearly see that even though they are both Canon-made cameras and they are both CCD sensor cameras and they have very similar lens in terms of numbers, 35 to 140 millimeters, there are some slight differences between the pictures. Well, as you could see on the pictures, the Canon has a sharper lens, even though it is only 5 megapixel camera, and this one is an 8 megapixel camera. So megapixel count doesn't say anything when we talk about the optics, and this optics is sharper than this one. Other than that, we can also point out the dynamic range. We can see that the G series has a wider dynamic range and there are more shades on the pictures you've seen. That's not surprising because they are from different series. The very easy point and shoot camera and the more professional series, the top line of Canon, of mirrorless Canon, the G series. Also, we could clearly see that even though I evaluated the white balance similarly on both cameras to get the film-like colors, I evaluated them on the slightly bluish part of sky to get a slightly warmer feeling to my pictures. This camera gives a warmer tone to the photography, while this one is just more natural. I really hope you liked the video. I really hope you are going to enjoy the photography as much as I do. I adore both of these cameras. They're still pretty affordable because in comparison with Fuji or Kodak CCD cameras, these ones are much cheaper. Even though the G series has a proprietary battery and a very special and not commonly used nowadays memory card, still, you can find that all online. So, that's it. If you liked this video, hit the subscribe button, hit like, listen to the music I make, watch the reviews I make on my photography gear and my music gear. Find me on Spotify, find me on Apple Music, enjoy the photography. I'm being Liam Kicks. Thank you for watching.